Hi, my name is Kate Dunlap, and I am a teacher in Chicago, Illinois. I've been teaching second grade here for the last 5 years. Before that, I taught social studies and language arts in North Carolina for 3 years. And then my first position was in Columbus, Ohio, um, during a school's foundational year, and I taught fourth and fifth grade. Um, in my current position, I'm also the math instructional chair. So I give feedback to math planners kindergarten through fifth grade. I also provide professional development based on our region's data, as well as our national charter schools goals for the upcoming years. The area that I've decided to focus on today is the area of support. This standard says candidates demonstrate skill and commitment to creating supportive environments that afford all preschool through 12th grade students access to rigorous college and career-ready standards. I chose this area because through my time at Kansas, I've really had my eyes open to how important the classroom environment is to student learning. And if students aren't feeling comfortable and feeling involved in the learning, then true learning can't happen. I also know that creating an environment that is proactive for skills outside of the classroom and 21st century learning skills are necessary as well to really make sure that our students are prepared for college and career readiness, as well as general human being skills and interactions that happen. Um, for both of these artifacts, I found I had a lot of processes to go through to get to this final outcome. I really had to work together with my group to decide what our vision was for the 21st century learning classroom in the first artifact, and really think about what we wanted our classroom to look like and the skills that we wanted our students to have after being a part of our classroom. Um, I think because of this presentation, above all else, I really have been starting to say and practice this idea of that the classroom is a place for students to practice skills and problem solve in a safe place. Um, I used to get really frustrated when students weren't able to work well in groups or, treat each other kindly. And after this process, I really my eyes were really open to the fact that this is my job to help them be better at this, and need to give them more opportunities to practice and to to reflect on the situations that happen. It's a hard process for all teachers to have to go through to understand that the frustration is theirs, and it's not always the student, but sometimes it's the teacher that needs to take responsibility for why those frustrations are happening. And because of this presentation, I've really given my students more time to practice working in groups and practice role playing different situations that might happen inside and outside of the classroom. Also, because of this presentation, I've really been thinking about student choice and student opportunity. My students are African American students on the west side of Chicago, and for them, a lot of their families haven't gone to college. A lot of them don't have the job that they want to have, and I really work hard every day to make sure that my students are practicing skills that are skills, academic as well as behavior skills that are going to get them to the college of their choice as well as and the job of their choice. I know that being a good employee and a good person is something that is something that you have to work really hard to be, and having that supportive classroom is the first step to that. I've really implemented a morning meeting time of the day so that students can have the opportunity to talk about different scenarios and talk about what they would do in that situation and why it's important to act this one way and not the other. And I think that opportunity to really talk through situations and talk through why the one choice is better than the other is really important for students to have. The next artifact that I chose was my group presentation through for the Jayhawkville curriculum plan. And this presentation also really made me think about response to intervention and how I can use that better. Students that are below grade level feel it every day. They know what that feels like to feel different than other students. And I think this ability that teachers have to make kids feel really comfortable with where they are academically and be really honest with them is where that first starts. And I think that through our curriculum plan, we really thought about student success and what needs to be taken to do that and all of the people involved in that. And because of this in my own classroom, I see myself being more supportive of students in response to intervention, being more honest with them about where they are and where they need to go and what steps need to be done. It's also been more supportive because, my students are able to clearly understand like what they need to do and where they need to go. And that's putting a lot of the learning on them rather than a lot of the pressure that teachers have felt in the past about moving students' scores up. And so by creating this environment of honesty and support, I'm seeing my students really move further in their learning than they have in years past. I also know that I know my students well. I know what they like, and I know what sorts of activities are fun for them. And bringing those sorts of things into the response to intervention time of our day is really showing them that I care about them as humans as well and not just like numbers on a page. And this kind of goes back to that idea of choice. And when we met with families at conferences and looking at their NWEA MAP scores and talking about like what that percentile means and talking about choice that our students have and making sure that they have supportive college programs that are going to make sure that they stay in school throughout their time there. Considering I work at a charter school, we have a K through 12 program here in the city that is extremely supportive of our students. We have a very high retention of students from kindergarten to 12th grade. And because of that, there ends up being a little bit of a struggle when our students move into college because they're not used to not having all of those people around. And when you go back to NWEA and look at their MAP scores and look at the correlation between that and ACT, we know that our students need people. And state schools, Ivy Leagues, privates, those higher community college schools, those have the people that are going to support students to get from the beginning of and to the end of their learning. Just being in Chicago, we know that our state is often struggles with funding some of our community colleges, and they often don't know if they're closing or not. And we want to make sure that our students are going to be at schools like University of Kansas that hopefully will never close because we always know that they have the money and the people to continue that funding. But the big idea from this area of support is like creating this supportive environment and making sure that like our classrooms are safe spaces for students to practice. Not only practice like doing well, but practice failing and making sure that our students know that failure happens and it stinks, but you've got to know what to do when it doesn't go your way. And for my class this year, that is the hardest thing we've been learning all year, is that you don't often get your way and you often don't get it right the first time. And it's been a tremendously hard year for my students because of that. But I know leaving my classroom and them going into third grade in June, they're going to be better people because they've felt what it feels like to struggle, but also that amazing feeling of victory when you've done something 3, 4, 5 times. Because of this program, I feel like I am more sensitive to all students and how, as a teacher, I control the feel of the room and control the learning that happens academically and behaviorally. I also feel like this idea of support through the standards, I just have a much better understanding of standards, especially my own in second grade, thinking about where students are and building backwards to get them to that goal that I want them to be at by the end of the year. This program has really made me think about the details that happen and the support that I can give every day by just being extremely prepared and understand what needs to be done in a lesson to get me from point A to point Z and get my students there too. I think support is such an important piece for our students. It's an important piece for teachers as well, making sure that they are committed to creating that environment, creating that activity, creating whatever it needs to be for students to be successful. And then it also is about that support of, letting students not have you there as well, and knowing that they can do it on their own and that they can be successful because you supported them all the way. I am grateful for my learning during this program, and I look forward to the next steps in the next year and putting everything into place from the output rather than putting it into place as the year goes on.